talking today about the Galaxy S21 and S21 Ultra with Matt Miller. Matt, I think off the top, first things first here, before we even look at what I think are two beautiful phones that you have there in your possession, the price drop that we're seeing here from Samsung. Talk about that.
Yeah, it's pretty significant. Last year we saw the S20 launch, and the S20, the entry level one, started at 999, and then we had the S21 Plus and the S20 Plus and the S20 Ultra 5G. This year we're seeing across the board $200 in price drops from the S20 series, which is great because we see a lot of upgrades, of course, in the processor and specs and everything else. So to see all those upgrades and a brand new phone come in at 200 less is great for the consumer. I mean, we have now, they sent me two to review. This is the S21, the entry level of the series.
So
And
pretty.
it
I know that's
starts,
the word pretty, but I haven't. It is
you know,
so pretty.
this is their new Phantom color scheme. And this one is Phantom Violet. It's a pretty, very nice light purple, and then you might be able to see the interesting new camera module, and around the edges is a rose gold color. So it's a beautiful device. They use these Phantom colors. There's several colors available: Phantom Black, Phantom Silver, Titanium, Navy, Brown, but a bunch of different colors. But this S21 starts at $799, so $800 for the start of this one, whereas last year it was $1,000. So that's a great entry level. They have the S21, they have the S21 Plus, and then we also have the S21 Ultra 5G. This one is the Phantom Black. It's if you like matte black finishes, it's pretty gorgeous device, and a lot of cameras on there as well.
I was just gonna say it's I hope people can see that, and obviously we'll have some video to go with it, but because it's a little hard to see, but there are 5 cameras on there. It's a lot
There's
of
a lot of cameras on there. I'll speak to the cameras in a minute. So the price point is the big thing, right? And size, right? So these are the S21 and the S21 Ultra, the biggest and the smallest of the two devices. This one is great for holding in your hand. It's nice and comfortable. I'm a big phone guy, so I have no problem with this one. Compared to something like the iPhone, one thing I notice is the dimensions are all very similar. I think it's within actually 2 grams of the iPhone 12 Pro Max, so very compatible in size. But it's the narrowness of the Samsungs that makes it really easy to hold the phone in your hand. It's like 4 millimeters narrower, which is a big difference when you're holding a phone. The nice thing across the board we see with this is they have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 in all the phones. They have Android 11 inside. Internal storage only. There's no micro SD card slot this year, which some people may, that's kind of a staple in the past of the bigger range, was to have a micro SD card. But if you look at the pricing on it, to go from 128 and then to double that, go up to the 512, for example, on the Ultra, is only $50 more. And when you start talking about incremental prices, that's almost the cost of a micro SD card. And the thing is to remember too is when you have the integrated storage, it's much faster than the expandable storage. We have multiple cameras across the board. Even the smaller one has 3 cameras on there: a zoom, ultra wide, and a standard camera. I'll talk about the cameras on the other one in a second. But we have Wi-Fi 6E on board, 5G across the board this year. And last year with the S20 series, the lower end models had low band 5G, but now all models of the S21 have low band, mid band, and mmWave 5G. So you don't have to make any choices when it comes to whatever network you want to connect to. All the devices support it. So you don't even have to think about it. It's all in there. They all have IP68 dust and water resistance in there. Large batteries, the ultrasonic fingerprint scanner, which is below the display, is larger this year. So your target of your finger should be a bit better to unlock the phone. So we're seeing great upgrades across the board and very few differences, really. So between the S21, S21 Plus, and the Ultra, the real differences are, of course, size, and then the battery capacity that goes with size, and then the cameras, right? So on this one, as I've kind of showed, there's a lot of cameras on the back. And what's interesting is the first time we've seen from Samsung is that 2 of those cameras are actually telephoto cameras. One of them has a 10 by optical and the other has a 3 by optical.
All right, right. So why 2 though? Couldn't you just do that with one of that lens?
Yeah, Samsung's tried that before with last year's model. The S20 Ultra had one zoom. It was using it was periscope, right? So the camera was turned sideways in it, and it used this called Super Zoom 100 and all this kind of stuff. But I think with two telephoto lenses, they're able to use the optics of the camera a little bit more because you're restricted by your depth, right? So they're using two lenses to um, increase the capability of the zoom. Now, what I've done is I went outside and I looked at our local. There's a park down by my house, so there's a sign there that talks about being allowed in the park. And I took the S20 Ultra, zoomed in. It was kind of readable. You could read a letter or two. It was very blurry. Boy, I took the S21 Ultra down there, and it was crystal clear. I could read exactly what the sign said. So they really have made some serious advances in the zoom capability of that lens. The other lens that's on here is a 108 megapixel lens. so so that sounds crazy. That's
Yeah.
a lot of megapixels. Well, what they're doing is they're using pixel nanobinning to take that photo, and then they're combining the pixels to make a little more clear and a robust picture. So it's amazing technology, and they're doing a great job. I think there's last year's S20 Ultra. It sounded good. It launched. There was some camera software tweaks that had to be made because there was some issues with it. It wasn't, in my opinion, the best camera at the time. I think they've addressed all of that this year. It's really a powerful camera system. Not to mention, you also have the ultra wide, and then on the front, right, is a 40 megapixel front facing camera. And Samsung, especially for the business side, they're really focused on how can we make, we're all working remotely. For a large majority of people, we're still working remotely. We're still going to deal with coronavirus this year. So they've kind of taken it to the next level with their cameras to try to help people, associate with each other a little bit more, collaborate and things. There's a feature on here called Director's Cut. So you turn on the director's view, you turn on that in the camera, it'll show the back cameras, and then you can tap a little thumbnail to switch between the different lenses. And then there's a little where you can turn on as an embedded picture-in-picture of you. So this is a perfect application for those field workers I was talking about before, where I could have my field workers down in Florida. They could go out in the field, take some pictures and videos and things like that of things that are going on. I can see their reaction. I can feel more personal, right? I've seen their face in a picture-in-picture rather than just them talking behind the camera, right? It kind of gives you that personal experience. So that's part of, how Samsung's making these a little more collaborative this year.
Yeah, and the words in your article you describe it, affordable, elegant, capable. I mean, that not much more you need really in a phone, and at that price point too.
Yeah, well, there's one thing I almost forgot to mention. So the big differentiator, besides the cameras and size and stuff, of the S21 Ultra is this.
Ah,
The S Pen
yeah.
works with the S21 Ultra. So there's no silo on there like we see on the Notes, right? So you would have to have an external S Pen. Now Samsung's going to sell different cases and S Pens where you can have a case and an S Pen and together. But this, for example, is an S Pen from a Note series. It does everything that you would expect from the S Pen, including the screen off memos. The only thing it doesn't support is the Bluetooth air actions and things you could do in the air, or advanced slides. Things that require a Bluetooth connection don't work, but everything else does. So you can use an S Pen from a Note, an S Pen from a tablet, from the Tab Active 3, for example. You can use that big S Pen. So any S Pen technology supported here because it has a Wacom digitizer on this screen. So that kind of takes it to the next level for the S series, and also makes us kind of question, what are we going to see in 2021 from the Note now
Right.
that we have the S Pen and the S21?
Yeah, where do they go from here with that?
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing how much more they can keep, packing in and doing into these devices. Never ceases to amaze me. Matt, we appreciate your review, of course, for the phones. They are much more for all of you guys to see, to read on ZDNet. We hope you'll check it out there.